Pop quiz. Can you tell me which of these food strategies is best for a long-term disaster or a crisis? Is it A, an aquaponics system, B, a one-year stockpile, or C, homesteading? If you didn't answer C, having a homestead, then please hold it right there, because you could be very vulnerable in the aftermath of a long-term disaster. Aquaponics systems can only give so much food, and they work on electricity, meaning that a blackout or an EMP will kill all your plants and fish. A large stockpile is a good backup, but hard to manage, and gets expensive once it starts to grow. And after it's finished, you still need to eat, because everyone knows a long-term crisis could take 5 or even 10 years to get back to some sort of normal. My name is Dan F. Sullivan, and after years of prepping, I came to the conclusion that the only way to have a solid, steady food and water supply is to homestead. Homesteading is the only legal way I know of to become almost completely self-reliant from food corporations, the utility companies, the government, and big pharma. By harvesting hundreds upon hundreds of pounds of organic food year-round and collecting thousands of gallons of crystal-clear drinking water for free. It's the only way to take back your health by growing your own groceries and making your own food out of basic ingredients, such as cheese, bread, and even chocolate, just to name a few. Then you could stockpile the excess produce for dark days. The shelf life of ingredients is longer than that of the resulting foods anyway. So while other preppers pay thousands for overpriced, highly processed emergency food, you'll build your stockpile for free. Okay, I know all this sounds exciting, and by now you may be asking yourself, is homesteading for me? Unless you're a yuppie living in the city who wants everything handed to him on a silver platter, the answer is yes. Because you can do it whether you're in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s. You can do this even if you live in the scorching Mojave Desert or the freezing Alaskan tundra, even if you don't have that much money, and even if you live on 1/10 of an acre or 400 square meters. When you add up all the things you could be making instead of buying, you'll save a ton of money. I'm talking about saving at least $200 per person in monthly expenses on things like personal hygiene products, clothing, and even on furniture. For example, you could save $2.50 on each bottle of mouthwash by making your own. That's a whopping 90% off retail price. You could make your own wine for less than $8 a bottle. And keep in mind, your wine kit will last you years on end, so the cost per bottle will decrease the more wine you make. You could save $50 on a new pair of jeans that you'll recondition yourself, and save at least $150 per winter month by getting a high-efficiency wood stove. Wood is by far the cheapest fuel there is. Sometimes you can even get it for free, and other cheap options are available. And this is just the beginning. You can grow and harvest your own organic eggs from free-range healthy chickens and milk, and make your own cheese and delicious treats such as pie, marshmallows, and cheesecake. Excellent comfort post-collapse foods that will be served fresh. It's like having your own personal supermarket just a few feet away from you, but not the kind that sells processed meat full of hormones and steroids, veggies full of pesticides that have absolutely no taste at all, not to mention all the other junk full of preservatives. Those things are poison, and the only reason we got to this point is because of this consumerist, interdependent society we all live in that could crumble like a house of cards if something like an economic disaster hits. If that happens, all of the things we now take for granted will be gone, including basic necessities. Millions will be fighting tooth and nail for the last can of tuna. When good people turn into savages, the last place you want to be is on the street looking for food. Instead, you and your family could be sitting pretty on your homestead, completely safe for years on end, and with very little outside interaction, with everything you need at your fingertips. So let me cut right to the chase and show you how to start a high-performance homestead from the ground up. Like I said, my name is Dan F. Sullivan. You may know my website, survivalsullivan.com, where I and a dozen writers post regular, high-quality articles on a variety of topics, ranging from homesteading to prepping. You may have read some of them on the top websites, such as Backdoor Survival, The Prepper Journal, American Preppers Network, Personal Liberty, Zero Hedge, and InfoWars, to name a few. But what you may not know about me is that I started to homestead when I was only 6 years old, and I would spend summers with my grandparents in a remote village of only 200 people, 18 miles away from the nearest town. The perfect place for a survival retreat, I might add. We lived there in almost complete self-sufficiency. In fact, we rarely went to town because we had everything we needed. My grandma and grandpa taught me how to grow a garden, how to take care of chickens and cows, and how to use a scythe, and much, much more, because homesteading was the only thing they knew how to do, and do well. They were in their 60s, and that didn't stop them from farming 6 days a week. In fact, many folks in our village live alone and do it in their 70s and 80s, and not just raising a few chickens and growing a small garden, but doing labor-intensive activities such as stacking hay, climbing ladders, and carrying heavy buckets. They are strong, and daily physical activity is their secret. One of the benefits to homesteading is that you get a free workout every day, a sure way to live healthier and longer. You'll soon be able to pass on your passion to your kids, nephews, and grandkids, the way my grandparents passed it on to me when I was young. You'll be so proud seeing them hoe potatoes instead of playing on their iPads, or taking care of goats instead of watching TV all day long. Your kids will be fearless. And the only two things you need to give in return for being a homesteader are time and patience. Because you see, crops don't mature in a week. The chickens don't grow overnight, not unless they're on antibiotics like some food corporations use. Good things come to those who wait, and my grandparents knew that. They knew that if they didn't work for a day, they didn't deserve to eat. And if they didn't work for a month, they wouldn't have anything to eat. They also knew something else, that you don't have to do everything on a homestead just because you can. You don't have to milk the cows every single day, or can every last cucumber, or keep the whole place super clean all the time. You don't have to break your back, especially with all the modern tools you can get for pennies on Amazon and in stores. Things have changed a lot since I was a kid. Just look at these crazy inventions. Cheap plastic leaf grabbers that will last a lifetime. Milking machines are so much easier than using your hands and draining yourself of energy. And pressure canners and cookers make cooking a breeze and help you avoid harmful bacteria inside your canning jars. This is why modern homesteading is easy. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to lift a finger. That would be ridiculous. Homesteading is not for the lazy. But if someone like me could do it, you can too. I only wish I knew all of this when I started out 27 years ago. They would have made our lives much easier, because back then, things were much harder. We didn't have very good protective equipment for fancy gardening tools. That would have made our lives so much easier. Instead, we relied on things that required no electricity, that were easy to make or cheap to purchase, and literally indestructible. Things have changed a lot since. Nowadays, modern homesteading mixes old-school knowledge with technology, which is why I can confidently say that now's the best time to start a homestead. There's just one problem. There's so much knowledge out there. Even our great-grandfathers would be jealous. But with information overload comes diluted, partial, or even downright wrong advice. With blogs posting random articles, it's difficult to put the pieces together, make a plan of action, and make progress. If you feel confused about where to start, if you keep reading conflicting advice, if everyone you ask is telling you everyone else is wrong except for them, then it's time to start listening to the real experts. Out of my over a dozen experienced prepper writers on survivalsullivan.com, I handpicked 6 that are also excellent homesteaders. So how would you like to meet them? Tara Dodrill is rocking it on a 56-acres farm in Ohio. 6 horses, 6 cows, 4 goats, dozens of ducks, chickens, guinea fowls, donkeys, sheep, and dogs. She lives and breathes homesteading every single day and has some incredible insights, including little-known federal laws and tax loops that could save you a ton of money when you start your homestead. She can even help you with tax exemption on some of your purchases. Next, we've got Megan Stewart, an amazing gal and my most cherished writer. You may have read her excellent articles on the blog. She's an expert homesteader and prepper and practices what she preaches. She has no choice, given that she has 2 children and 4 grandchildren to raise. Then there's Ryan Dotson, a master survivalist and an excellent cook, very good at making survival food staples on his homestead, such as hardtack and pemmican. By far the most prepared person I know, he can survive anything. Jeannie Beals is not only the most passionate gardener I've ever known, she's very knowledgeable in her remedies and has lots of other skills. She can also teach you a lot about cooking. Next we have Rebecca White, a hidden homesteading gem. She lives on a 22-acre farm in Vermont, the 7th coldest state in the country, proving that you can raise chickens, massive quantities of zucchini, and even bees in colder climates. Last but not least, we have Paige Thompson, one of my newest writers living on a homestead with her husband surrounded by dogs, cats, and lots of chickens. When she explains a homesteading concept, the level of detail is simply amazing. Together, my homesteading dream team owns over 100 acres of land and decades of combined knowledge and experience, and they all agreed to share it with you. So how would you like us to get you started homesteading? And then take you to intermediate and advanced levels, step by step, with as few mistakes as possible, and even if you have a day job and kids to look after. We all worked our rear ends off to finally come up with the ultimate A to Z homesteading encyclopedia, Autopilot Homestead, the only course that will show you how to start a fully functioning homestead from the ground up in as little as 7 days. Whether you're new to homesteading, if you already have some land and don't know where to start, even if you've been doing it for decades and think you know it all, I guarantee you'll find inside plenty of secrets you didn't know. Let me prove to you how in-depth and jam-packed this course is by giving you just a taste of what you'll find inside its over 500 pages and over 15 chapters. It all starts with your vision. What's the ultimate goal you want to achieve with your homestead? Before you start digging in your garden or buying your first chicks, you need to figure out what you want. We'll help you do this even if right now you're confused and clueless by thoroughly explaining basic concepts and giving you lots of options where to take your homestead. We'll literally help you turn your dream into reality. Once we take care of that, we'll talk about finding the right land for your dream homestead. You need to know all the restrictions and regulations, such as mandatory hookups to municipal water or to the sewage system. Some states and counties limit the number of animals or even forbid rainwater collection. But in some places, we found 7 different ones in the U.S., you can get fertile land for free. Next, we'll give you layout tips and examples on how to set everything up. Do this by ear, and you'll be sorry when you realize you should have put them in different places or in different orientations. There are crucial factors to keep in mind, such as the slope, the orientation, and of course, the various emergencies that could occur, such as house fires and wildfires. Once we have your vision and your plan, that's when the real fun begins. You need to think about land clearance, fencing, and of course protecting your homestead from prying eyes and setting up things like early warning systems. The A to Z of gardening. We'll talk about each veggie one by one. Lettuce, carrots, potatoes, zucchini, tomatoes, and many more. When and where to plant them, how to water them, and of course we'll help you avoid costly mistakes that even seasoned gardeners make sometimes. We'll also tell you how to grow these 4 plants that work as natural painkillers. 4 plants you can make from sugar and barter with post-collapse, and half a dozen other medicinal herbs you can use when doctors may not be available, or even today to avoid buying medicine. We'll also reveal the one common plant that keeps pests away, such as worms, even rabbits, and at the same time attracts a whole bunch of pollinators. We'll tell you the fast-growing, highly nutritious wonder tree that's a natural mosquito repellent. And last but not least, the mystery berry that does well in sunshine as well as shade. It's jam-packed with fiber, antioxidants, and vitamins, and will produce fruit for the next 20 years. Everything you need to know to successfully set up raised beds. They have less weeds, the plants need a lot less water, they defrost sooner in the spring, and your dog won't get to them. Plus, the surprising thing to put at the bottom for lining that allows water to drain but does not let weeds infiltrate. Warning, do not use burlap because it disintegrates once it gets wet. Then we will show you how to build your first greenhouse. This no-fail approach will get you more produce than you ever thought possible. And all you need are some basic materials to set it up, plus the one weird thing to add to your greenhouse to keep a steady temperature. It doesn't cost a dime and requires no extra maintenance. All in all, know that you can garden even if you're stuck with rocky or sandy soil or clay. There are ways to do it anywhere. Next, we're taking things one step further and showing you how to grow fruit trees, grapes, and berries. These require very little maintenance, yet they're another one of those things that will put your homestead on autopilot. Weeds, predators, you can crush all of them, no matter how large or sneaky, but if you don't, it's going to be SHTF in your backyard. Deer, mice, snakes, hawks, foxes, gophers, and even black bears. Nothing will ever touch your garden ever again. We'll give you dirt-cheap hacks, such as using VHS tape to deter them. Don't throw away any junk you have lying around the house until you read this. Let me ask you this. What will you do if you spent dozens of hours in the garden only to lose everything to a 5-minute hailstorm? We'll teach you how to protect your plants from the elements, strong winds, snow, frost, and extreme temperatures. In homesteading, the chicken always comes before the egg. We'll tell you everything you need to know about them. Raising store-bought chicks, building a chicken coop, getting your hens to integrate and start laying eggs, not letting them escape the perimeter or eat things that will get them sick, and so much more. Pro tip, though chicken wire can keep your birds in, it cannot keep predators out, which will even go as far as decapitating your flock, leaving the headless bodies inside. Fail to protect your chicks and you'll wake up one morning to a bloody massacre. In fact, we'll tell you how to care for all of your animals and how to keep them healthy and safe. Rabbits, goats, cattle, pigs, and turkeys, even horses, how to feed them pre- and post-collapse with whatever grows on your homestead. We're going into a huge amount of detail with each, including safety issues, the costs of raising them, and much, much more. We'll tell you the right ways to do a wide range of homesteading chores, such as how to properly water your garden, milking, using a scythe, and many, many more. This is as close to having us by your side as it gets. Then we'll show you some really cool and useful DIY homesteading projects. Fly traps, chicken nesting boxes, DIY mouthwash, laundry detergent, and many, many more. Each project is an opportunity to spend time and bond with your family. Because they're so easy, even your kids can do them. We even show some of them on video so they can easily follow along the instructions. We'll talk about the possible ways to heat your home. Wood, coal, propane, solar. The sooner you switch to them, the sooner you'll see your electric bill drop like a rock. Next, we'll show you how to live in homesteading luxury by making comfort foods such as peach wine, whiskey, vodka, beer, and even growing your own tobacco. You'll live like a king in good times and bad. Just imagine paying only 30 cents instead of $4 a pack for cigarettes. City dwellers, have no fear. So long as you have a balcony and enough space in your house, you can still homestead. How to make your homestead bulletproof and ready to bug in. If and when the big one hits, you want to be ready and to protect your investment. But what if you're forced to evacuate? No place on this earth is immune to disasters. So when that flood or that wildfire comes, part of your homestead will be portable and ready to go. You obviously can't take everything with you, but you can take the essentials that will allow you to start over again in a different place. 5 ways to preserve food: smoking, dehydrating, freeze-drying, pickling, as well as 3 types of off-grid refrigerators that require 0 electricity, all in minute detail. The astonishing all-natural repellent spray that you can get for around $30 that will guarantee that nothing, and I mean nothing, will mess with your garden again. Deer, squirrels, wild pigs, hogs, you name it, they'll all be gone. How to set up a cheap drip irrigation system that uses gravity to water your plants even if you have to leave your homestead. In fact, we'll tell you a number of things to automate your homestead and make it run partially on autopilot. Now, this was just a taste of what you'll get inside Autopilot Homestead. I don't even have time to discuss here about bees, perennials, essential oils, how to use a tractor, or the 24 minutes long video on how to butcher deer. There's just so much more that we cover. I even brought an active duty infantryman to the team, certified as a combat lifesaver in the U.S. Army, and will teach you basic first aid and prepare you for homesteading accidents. All in all, this course will help get your basic homestead up and running in less than a week. It'll save you dozens of thousands of dollars over the years by doing most of the things with your own hands instead of buying them, and it'll put some of these things on autopilot. Now, I've published thousands of pages of content over the past 8 years, so I made sure every word in this course is easy to understand and apply, not to mention the dozens upon dozens of high-quality photos you'll find inside. A joy to look at. And believe it or not, this isn't everything, because I decided to add these kick-ass bonuses to motivate you to get started. The first is the Autopilot Homestead Action Plan booklet to help you put everything from the main course into practice. No theory, just things to do one step at a time. Bonus number 2 is a collection of over a dozen PDF printables, daily, weekly, monthly, and seasonal planning sheets for crop growing, care and health records for each animal, an incubation chart, and many more goodies. Print them out and keep them handy on your fridge, in your barn, basement, or anywhere else you might need them. The third bonus is titled 37 Ways to Boost Your Energy. Whether you feel tired because of all the unhealthy food you've been eating, or because your job is stressing you out, we're giving you 37 all-natural ways to feel energized and more confident from this day forward. Last but not least, the fourth bonus is titled Amazing Home Remedies you can use to treat minor injuries by yourself without relying on a doctor. Jeannie did an excellent job on this one. To recap, you get the main Autopilot Homestead e-course, which takes you from absolute zero and helps you have a vision, set goals, make a plan, and then put that plan into action. Then you've got the 4 bonuses to help you get the most out of the main course. On top of that, you have the videos to show you things like how to make hardtack and pemmican, not to mention all that DIY stuff. What more could you ask for? Well, probably the price. If you were to buy a book on each and every one of the topics covered in this course, you'd probably end up paying over $400. No joke. Gardening, beekeeping, raising all these different types of livestock, you'd be paying $30 for books on the 15-plus topics we cover. You'd get a lot of fluff, small pages with large fonts, and of course, no videos or bonuses. Not the case with Autopilot Homestead. Order today, and you won't pay hundreds of dollars for all this knowledge. In fact, I think even $100 is too much for something our grandparents learned for free. This is info everyone should have access to. On the other hand, quality content written by experts isn't cheap, and neither is keeping and promoting a website, which is why I decided to put the fair price tag of $39 to help cover my costs and pay my writers. When you go through the course, I'm almost certain you'll love it. But just in case you don't, I'm backing it with my ironclad money-back survival Sullivan guarantee. Here's how it works. You've got 60 days, that's 2 whole months to go through it all, plan your homestead, and start applying. If you're not happy with the progress you make, asking for a refund is incredibly easy. You see, when you order, you'll get an email from ClickBank, the trusted online retailer that makes this transaction possible, with a refund link. If you're not happy, for whatever reason, you can use that link to get your money back, or you can contact me directly at contact@survivalsullivan.com, and I'll give you the refund myself. So, are you ready to get started? If you're still not sure, I understand. You're probably tempted to ignore homesteading altogether and continue to stockpile food, water, ammo, and guns. But guns can't put food on the table, not unless you become the bad guy and start taking from others. Not a very honorable way to survive, I might add. Plus, you have to understand that a stockpile will only last for so long. In case of a total collapse, things will take years to go back to some sort of normal, and even after it's depleted, you still need to eat. Of course, there's always the option of figuring out how to homestead yourself, but the thing is, there are hundreds of ways to screw up when you do things by the ear. Your garden getting ravaged by deer, lambs dying in your arms, a bloody accident. All of them can be easily avoided if you know how. And the learning curve when you do it by yourself can be long and painful, not to mention the hundreds of extra hours you'll waste figuring things out. So stop trying to wing it and pick the safest and most mature way of having food post-collapse. Say a cheerful yes to the Autopilot Homestead. Get the PDFs, get the videos and the bonuses, and you'll start reading and watching within minutes. If you could only pick one homesteading course, this would be it. Do everything the way we teach you, and your homestead will grow right before your eyes. Commit to giving this a try, and we'll commit to helping you set everything up. So long as you have the time and don't mind a little hard work, you can do it. Right now, in order to survive, you need a water guy, a fuel guy, the power company, a grocer, a butcher, cashiers, truck drivers, and many others in the supply chain. It's time to take them out of the equation. Start relying on yourself and achieve a degree of independence you never thought possible. This could be one crazy adventure, the thing you've been waiting for to give your life more meaning. So start your homesteading adventure right here. Click the button below now, and I and my experts will see you in the members area shortly. Still here, you probably have some questions about the product, and that's fair. I had a lot of questions from my grandparents too when I got started. So let me try to answer the most common ones real quick. Question, is the 60-day guarantee real? Yes, absolutely. I'm using ClickBank, the biggest online retailer of digital goods, having an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and my site is ClickBank secured and trusted. Their automated process makes it really easy for you to quickly get your money back if you're unhappy for whatever reason by sending either me or ClickBank an email for a full refund. Remember, you have 2 whole months to do so. Question, Dan, can you tell me more things that are being covered inside the product? Sure thing. I could fill another 50 slides with all the things covered inside Autopilot Homestead, but here's a few more you might find interesting. The 5 ways you could be poisoning your plants as we speak, and don't even know it. Fix these ASAP unless you want to turn your garden into a graveyard. We'll show you a stunning way to compost called trench composting that recycles all of your waste, requires very little work, and doesn't smell at all. Even if you choose to compost the old-fashioned way using a pile, you'll need to know how to avoid drenching due to autumn rain and winter snow, which will otherwise suffocate the bacteria needed for the process. The right way to prune your fruit trees. This is one of the most delicate things you'll do on your homestead, because if you do it wrong, your tree will suffer because of this for decades, since moisture, insects, and disease will go right through the open wound. We'll give you a long list of things to cut energy costs and lower your utility bills. The bigger the homestead, the more power you need, which is why it's important to do this right from the beginning. A penny saved is a penny earned, and when it comes to all the electrical tools and appliances you'll end up having, we're talking about a lot more than a few pennies. We'll have a lengthy discussion about essential oils and their amazing benefits. They have so many uses around the house you won't believe. From healing wounds and reducing bad breath to relieving anxiety and stress, we'll talk about all of them. Everything you need to get started with bees. Even if you live in a cold climate, from catching a swarm to making mason jar beehives, which requires zero woodworking skills, we left nothing out. Squirrel problems? We have a super cheap way to keep squirrels and birds away from your fruit trees. All you need is a piece of string. This is another dirt cheap item you probably already have, and let the wind do the rest. Homestead pesticide and fertilizer? You bet. There are ways to keep pests away naturally without resorting to poison. We'll tell you about this one tomato type, highly recommended for survival gardens because it has more phosphorus, potassium, twice as much zinc, and it's actually sweeter than regular tomatoes. Last but not least, we'll help you take one giant step further by teaching you how to transition to farming. A bigger homestead needs more effort, has a bigger yield too. We'll tell you everything on how to expand your homestead the smart way. Question, is the product full of fluff? Absolutely not. I've had my share of courses filled with irrelevant stories, personal opinions, and political rants. There will be none of that in Autopilot Homestead. Question, can I get the product in physical format? Not at the moment, no. By making this available in digital format, I can keep the costs low while you get fast, instant access. Question, is my credit card safe? Yes, the transaction is processed by the online retailer ClickBank, and that's what will show up on your bank statement. ClickBank processes hundreds of thousands of ebook transactions every single month. They've been doing this for a very long time and handle money with care. Question, can I access the product from my phone or tablet? Sure. After your purchase, you'll be taken to the members area, but you'll also get a direct link via email. This way, you'll be able to access the product anytime you want it by simply logging into your email from your phone, iPad, or laptop and clicking the link to get to the members area. Question, Dan, can I make a printed copy of this course? How about several? By all means, feel free to make as many as you want. Question, what if I have questions later on? I'll be right there with you. Simply write me an email at contact@survivalsullivan.com and I'll personally reply in 48 hours tops.